Well, welcome everybody to this year's Maths Week launch webinar. It's great to have so many of you join us. We're hoping to enthuse you all about this year's theme of maths and creativity. My name is Ruth Perry. I'm Policy Officer at Natspec, and one of the most fun things I get to do each year is to run our annual Maths Week. So I'm hoping some of my enthusiasm for it will rub off on you today. I'm going to be joined a little later on by Ian Evans. Are you there, Ian?
I am. Hello, everybody.
Ian's from Derwent College, who are always very active in Maths Week. Ian will be telling us how Derwent College embraces the week and sharing some ideas on this year's theme. I'll be explaining what Maths Week is all about, how to get involved, and how to enter your learners into our competition. If you have any questions, please use the questions pane, type them in, and we'll pick them up as much as we can as we go along, and we'll then have a look at the end to make sure we've addressed everything that you've raised. We need to mute you, unfortunately, because of the numbers. It's not possible to run it as a more interactive sort of question and answer session. So what is Maths Week? Well, it's an opportunity to put a real focus on maths. The way we deliver maths tends to be deeply embedded, but we think it's worth drawing out those skills and making learners and staff really aware that what they're doing is very often maths. They may not realise that it is, but an awful lot of what appears to be basic and life skills is actually at its heart maths skills. It's an opportunity to remind ourselves and our students of the role that maths skills play in helping them achieve their life goals. Developing math skills is an important part of becoming more independent, taking more control of your own life, as well as actually being useful and becoming more employable and doing well on college courses. For staff, it's definitely a real opportunity to share good practice, effective teaching, learning, different approaches and resources that have worked well in your own settings. And it can be a chance to tackle challenges together. We know maths teaching for learners with learning difficulties and disabilities is challenging. You can use the exchange of ideas on Twitter to work with others to find solutions to some intransigent problems, or you can bring people together within your own setting or locally work with other learning providers to get your heads together to tackle some of the most difficult bits of maths teaching with learners working at these levels. For staff, it's also an opportunity within your own setting to actually shout about what you do. You can put up displays, hold events, run your own in-house competitions to promote maths learning across your setting and generally become more visible in your own organisation. And for learners, it's a chance to celebrate what they're doing, to celebrate progress and achievement in maths, and most of all, to have some fun while they're doing it. In terms of what Natspec does, we facilitate all of this dialogue by publicising the week. We tweet endlessly about maths all week. We retweet your ideas, details of what you and your students have been up to. And we also set a competition brief to help motivate learner engagement and as a way to celebrate achievement at the end of it all. But really what happens in Maths Week is very much up to you, what you want to do, what you think your learners should be getting up to. Thinking about what can they get out of it, how can we use this annual celebration of maths to really flag up the maths work that goes on in our setting. So who can take part in Maths Week? Well, really, as it says there, any learner age 16 plus with a learning difficulty or disability, and any teachers or tutors, and in fact curriculum managers or support staff or any other members of staff who want to get involved, who work and support those young people, or adults, I should say, as well there. It's very much adult learners as well as younger learners. It's learners with and without EHC plans, and in any type of further education setting, whether that's an adult learning centre, a general or a specialist FE college, an independent training provider, school sixth form, home educated young people, everyone is welcome to take part. Although Natspec coordinates it, it's absolutely not just for Natspec members. It really is for everybody who wants to think about maths and learners with learning difficulties and disabilities. So I thought it might be useful to do a little bit of reflection on last year to give you an idea of what Maths Week looks like in practice. Last year's theme was Work It Out, maths for work, maths for employability, and students got up to all sorts of things as they went on work experience, as they developed employability skills in all sorts of different settings. The two young men pictured here are from WESC. They told us about the math skills that they were using on work experience at a charity shop and in a cafe. One of the students described sorting out the little coloured blocks that you put on the top of a coat hanger to denote sizes of clothes. He also talked to us about the maths he needed to get to and from work on time and to make sure he wasn't late back from his breaks. This is a group of adult learners from Bideford in Devon who sent in a video showcasing the math skills they were using as they raised money for charitable causes. They called themselves the fundraisers, capital F-U-N, and their video shows that they were having an enormous amount of fun as they went about the charitable activity, but it was also incredibly maths rich. It involved them comparing costs, checking sell-by dates, calculating profits, and this is one of our shortlisted entries in the competition that the judges really liked their team approach. Between them, they'd assigned roles to one another to match tasks to their strengths and abilities, and through that team effort, they'd managed to raise a lot of money, get a lot of math skills in action, and have a great time while they were doing it. And last year's winners were Royal College Manchester, who are part of the Seashell Trust. And the judges were really impressed with the way that the learners, some of them have got quite complex needs, the way they were fully engaged in a wide variety of different vocational activity and demonstrating an equally wide variety of math skills as they carried out practical tasks as part of work experience, both in college and across a range of workplaces. We saw them up to all sorts of parks, warehouses, shops, restaurants and offices. And it was obvious that the college had worked really hard to identify suitable work placements that meant all their learners were able to complete genuine work tasks. And as they did that, they'd maximise the opportunities offered by the different motivating contexts to develop appropriate math skills, some of which were very much a sort of an emerging numeracy, right through to more complex numerical calculation. Last year we found ourselves instituting a new award for whole college commitment and came up with a special commendation for Derwent College. Derwent tweeted multiple times every day from a whole range of different accounts, showing learners across a wide range of activities within and beyond college, from conservation work to the gym, to the art room, across hotels, cafes, shops, and they even attracted a cheeky tweet from Countdown's Rachel Riley. So I'm going to invite Ian Evans now, who's functional skills lead at Derwent, to say a little more about what they got up to and how he manages to make it a whole organisational affair. Over to you, Ian.
Thank you, Ruth. Hi, everybody. Maths Week for us at Derwent College has become a yearly event now. This is something we look forward to. Students and staff alike enjoy engaging in Maths Week. And I think it's the second year that I've been coordinating functional skills. So it's a very busy week from about 9 o'clock on the Monday morning to 5 o'clock on the Friday night. I'm running around back into tweeting multiple times and making sure that the competitions are running smoothly in the college themselves. We also, as well as the tweets that everybody can see outside of the college, we also keep a record within the college. We have a maths wall where we put the pictures up that have been used in tweets to show what different students have been doing, so they can see during the week what's going on, and that can enthuse them and encourage them to maybe think up their own ideas. And it's not just the students, you know, who are enthused by these pictures on Twitter or on the maths wall. It's the staff as well, the students themselves. Everybody kind of gets involved when they see what the other people are doing. And I think usually sort of about halfway through Monday, we find a sort of spike in interest within our own college. And I think it also spikes off other colleges to sort of compete as well. I think competition is a really strong motivator for everybody who gets involved in Maths Week. And I know obviously 2018 we received the whole college award for commitment to maths, and the year before I think we were top tweeters. So we don't necessarily, you know, require any of that this time. It's good that I've been invited to talk about it. It'd be nice to see other colleges being recognised equally, I think, for a strong commitment to Maths Week.
Can I ask you, Ian, how you sort of cue people up to Maths Week? I think what happens in lots of places is that suddenly people remember, oh, it's Maths Week, let's get something, you know, let's get something going right now. But it's clear what happens at Derwent is there's some lead up to it, so staff, learners are aware it's coming, and you've obviously done some planning ahead. How does that work?
I think, you know, I think the beauty of Maths Week is that you can sort of get involved off the cuff. You can quickly send a tweet and think, oh, right, we've been doing this today, this fits, that's great. That's really good. And it's a good way for people to get into the idea of Maths Week. And that's how, you know, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was involved as a teacher. You know, we would sort of, somebody would say to us, oh, it's Maths Week, we need to do, and we would get involved. But for the last couple of years, I've felt that a more sort of concerted approach is more beneficial to everyone, staff, students, and the college as a whole, you know, because obviously we, you know, enjoy being recognised for what we do. But I think it's important that we share good practice with other people. I know that's a term that's bandied around a lot, but I genuinely think that we have looked at other colleges' tweets sometimes and thought, right, okay, you know, it's given us ideas. So what I tend to do around this time of year, I remind everybody that Maths Week is coming up. We actually have functional skills link meetings, which is there's a link in every vocational area who is sort of responsible for liaising with me and my team about the functional skills that takes place in their vocational pathways. And we're there to support them all through the year, not just Maths Week. Obviously, if there's ever any problems with embedding, they're not sure how to embed maths or English, they come to us for advice. We may go in and support and model how to do that. But there's a continuing sort of dialogue between us and the work areas, the vocational pathways, which I think is strengthened every year. And I think when we do Maths Week, when we get involved in Maths Week, people enjoy it so much that it takes away the anxiety. And this is from staff, not just from students. It takes away that maths anxiety because, you know, vocational... Sorry, I was just going to say, yeah.
It's actually good for staff confidence as well as learner confidence, and for sort of building the strength of your functional skills team, particularly those who are embedded staff, as it were, those who actually, their main role is the vocational learning, but they have a functional skills hat on, and this is a good thing to sort of gather around and collaborate on.
Yeah, I think we're very realistic, and we, you know, accept that our vocational staff are not specialists in English and maths. We've got some brilliant examples of embedding going on every day in our college, but we don't expect them to be specialists, otherwise we'd be out of a job. But what we try and do is ensure that the quality of the embedding is consistently high through, you know, sharing, dialogue and competition. And in these meetings, obviously I'll be sharing this webinar from today, but we've already shared whole college emails asking staff in different work areas what they fancy doing and what their ideas are and how they think that they can join in Maths Week.
Okay, hold that thought for now, because I'm going to ask you a little bit later when we start to talk about the detail of Maths Creative, some of the ideas that you've come up with. I would like to just ask you, here's your certificate from last year, what the impact plan has been. How did staff and learners respond when they found out that they'd been highly commended?
Well, it's always good to be recognised for what you do, and that goes, you know, from all staff right the way up to our students. You know, that it's feedback, positive feedback. Any feedback is good, but positive feedback is particularly confidence building. And really, I think with maths, that's the key issue, is building confidence, and that's in staff, students, and us as a college as a whole. You know, our functional skills provision is widely praised, and we're involved in national research, and it's good to be recognised for that. And I think that filters down through the staff, and you know, I think that's reflected in what provision is put forward for the students, and they certainly enjoy it and they love to compete. So, you know, it was a lovely sort of you know, commendation of what we've been doing over the past few years.
Okay, thanks, Ian. I'm going to come back to you again when we talk in a little bit more detail about some of the practical examples of things that people might get up to this year.
Okay,
I'm going to move on now to think about why we've chosen this year's theme, which is Maths Creative, hence the Dali-esque logo, which is inspired by a suggestion from staff at Derwent College. I merrily marched ahead, found a nice looking version of Dali's liquid clock, only to be reminded by our marketing officer that you can't just steal things off the internet and put them up everywhere. But Anaf, our marketing officer, contacted the shop who was selling this particular version of the clock online, and they very gladly lent us their image. They were pleased to put some support behind our Maths Week. We believe that creative activity is a really rich context for developing and practicing maths skills, and it helps learners understand that maths isn't just something that you have to do at school or college, that actually the skills you're developing when you're being creative, whether it's part of a hobby, a pastime, a career, they're things that are enabling you to have fun, to do what you want to do it to a good standard. Learners don't always recognise what they do when they're being creative as maths. So if they can see that they're effective in this context, Ian was just talking about confidence, it may help them see that they are capable of doing maths. They just hadn't realised that this is maths. So we think there's a real natural fit between maths and creativity. And we're not the only ones who think that. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Marcus de Soto. He's the Professor for Public Understanding of Science at Oxford University, and he's a great advocate for and a big populariser of mathematics. And his view is that maths, visual arts and literature are great partners, and music as well. I won't read through the entire quote that I've put up there, and while that might seem a bit highbrow for some of the math skills our learners may be using, it really is just as true. If you think about it, there's even a shared language across maths and the creative arts. Pattern, shape, counting, rhythm, length, time, they're all words that we use across the creative arts and maths as disciplines. If you are interested in what Marcus de Soto has to say on this, and he has plenty more to say about it, just Google Marcus de Soto maths and creativity, and there's a lot more reading you could do if that's of interest to you. So I've put up this slide really just to prompt you to think about the various different aspects of making, performing and creating that your learners might get involved with and become context for maths development. So there's music, whether that's composing, playing, mixing, DJing, dance, that might be choreography or performing, art, visual arts of any medium, sculpture, painting, collage, craft, designing or making objects, drama, that could be acting, writing, directing, set design, costume, makeup, any aspect of media or film, or spoken or written word, use of technology, and actually creative thinking in any situation, such as coming up with innovative solutions to problems. And we're talking about more than just creative arts. I'm conscious that lots of those examples probably fall into that category, but it's also about making that cake, putting that hanging basket together, creating that bird feeder. So long as you're making, performing, doing something, then it's a perfectly valid context for this year's theme. And just a reminder as well that sometimes this will be about being creative in groups, and sometimes it'll be about being creative as an individual, and both of those and any combination of those are equally valid. I've been thinking about maths and creativity from two different perspectives. This is the first one, maximising maths learning within creative arts sessions. And that's about looking for the opportunities to pull out the math skills that are inherent in creative activity, wherever that comes within the curriculum. It can be useful to think about that in terms of the three broad areas of maths, so measure, shape and space, number and handling data. So while we're involved in rehearsing for and putting on this show, for example, this is the images from a show that the Orpheus Centre put on. What are the number skills that we could be drawing out? Where are the data handling opportunities? And what aspects of measure, shape and space are we naturally addressing as we go about our creative business? What are the opportunities for counting? So listen for the 4 drum beats before you enter. Calculating. How many programs might we need to make? Recognising numbers. What page of the script are we on? Estimating. What size audience are we likely to get on the first night? Making comparisons. Did more people come to opening night or to the last night? There'll also be opportunities for measuring. That might be creating props and costumes. It might be about using time. How long do we have to rehearse today? If the interval's 15 minutes long, what time do you need to be back in the wings? It might be a chance to consider the use of space on the stage, the patterns that are created as people move to different positions. There are bound to be opportunities for sequencing, obviously one scene following another, one line after another, and for altering patterns, and then considering the dramatic effect of doing that. It's important to think who would benefit from focusing specifically on which skills and at what level. Sometimes there's going to be learning for all, but at other times it will be differentiated, carefully focused to challenge particular learners or to fit with a learner's personal targets. So if a learner is focused on very basic sequencing, first, next, then, for example, you could be emphasising this when they're learning their dance moves. So if that's one side of the coin, the other side is thinking about how we bring creative activity into the maths classroom. And that might be more about using creative activity as a learning context within discrete maths sessions. Obviously, maths for learners with learning difficulties or disabilities, in fact, maths for anyone, is rarely best taught in a pure abstract way. It's almost always, you almost always need a context to make it meaningful. So why not make that context something creative during Maths Week? Dance can be a great way to reinforce positional vocabulary. Put your hand behind your head, stretch your right leg in front of you, move next to your partner, place your hand on top of hers. Listening to and making music can help with counting and with comparisons. Okay, let's hold that note for 4 beats. Who can fit the most drum beats into 10 seconds? Is this music faster or slower than the piece we just listened to? You can use art to teach about patterns, ratios, fractions, shapes, symmetry. either by learners creating their own artworks or examining famous works of art. Some of the best examples I've ever seen was using colour mixing to learn about ratios. So mixing primary colours to create secondary colours. So the teacher was looking with the students at what happens when you mix 1 part red and 1 part yellow. And how does it change if you go for 3 parts yellow and 1 part red? If you want a very pale blue, should you add more white or more blue? And then she presented them with a very deep pink and got them guessing how many parts red do you think it is and how many parts white. And then they estimated and tested out whether or not they were right by actually mixing the 2 paints according to the ratios they came up with. Another example I've seen more recently, a class of maths students creating 3 designs that they were going to collate them all together into an adult mindfulness colouring book. And they were tasked with making 1 asymmetrical, 1 had to have 1 line of symmetry, and 1 had to have 2 lines. So they're all examples of how you might bring maths activity into your discrete sessions. I'm going to come back to Ian now to ask him to share some of the ideas that they're considering at Derwent for this year's Maths Week. I know he's been asking around ahead of this webinar, get staff thinking about what they might do, and perhaps you could share some of that with us now, Ian.
Well, what I've decided to do this time is to focus a little more on the competition side of things, because I think the last 2 years where I've been coordinating the department and the whole functional skills area of the college through Maths Week and similar sort of initiatives, we've always been there's always been a concerted effort where we've kind of worked together, which is great because we do have very good relations between vocational areas. But I've noticed that any element of competition really strengthens the involvement. You know, as I said, I think usually about halfway through Monday, you start to see departments sort of counter tweeting to show what they've been doing as well. So this year, I've decided that I'm going to try to utilize that competitive spirit to hopefully be even more sort of prolific this year. And if you can see at the bottom of the screen there, the Keep the Score screenshot, that is a online app which you can you don't have to download it. It's actually, I think the address is keepthescore.co. Nothing else, keepthescore.co. Check that out, have a look at that, have a play with it, see if you can do something with that. What we've done with this is we have each vocational area's name. You can see IHW, which is Independence, Health and Wellbeing, Horticulture, HH, which is Hospitality and Housekeeping, Work Skills, Creative Arts and Retail Studies. And the idea this year is that we're going to try and use the competitive spirit between the departments to try and, you know, ramp up the excitement even more. So there's also apps like Class Dojo. I'm not sure how familiar a lot of people are with that, but that's Class Dojo. That's used quite extensively in our college as sort of motivating software where people get scores and can get feedback. So we're going to try out a couple of different ones before March and sort of see which format is going to work the best. But the idea is this time we really want to get everybody sort of showing off what they do in their areas and competing. I'm thinking of a point system where maybe we'll get so many points per tweet that's shared for a department, and then maybe more points if they devise an in-house competition for their students. Because what we do find is that vocational areas very often have a little competition within their own area, but it's not being consistent all over the college. And I'm hoping that we can encourage that sort of microcosm, macrocosm thing where each department will come up with their own competitive ideas as well. So, you know, we've been looking at the examples on the screen there. For instance, the 32 beats, it says the beats to the bar when they're dancing in creative art sessions. Halving and quartering fruit, you've got measuring wood there for cutting. It's all creative, as Ruth was saying earlier on. It's not all about creative arts or performing arts or design and things like that. It's creating anything, and also creative thinking, as Ruth said earlier on, is a hugely important skill, which I would almost equate with problem solving. And I think every area of our college has a strong element of problem solving, because we facilitate our learners. We don't tell them what to do. We encourage them to think about how they're going to do what's required of them, what they need to do to boost their transferable learning and their skills for life. So we try to spark their creativity off all the time. And I think it's, again, as Ruth said earlier, it's about highlighting to learners and teachers and support staff that what they're doing is creative, and that they can measure that they can see what they've done, and that they can celebrate what they've done and feel proud of it, and that will build their confidence. And again, student confidence, staff confidence, vocational area confidence, and the college's confidence, that we are good at maths. And I think that's not just us. There must be thousands of colleges out there who are this good at maths, and maybe they just don't know how to show it. And I hope that we can enthuse people and show them the way, really.
Thanks very much, and we look forward to seeing what you get up to this year. I think your suggestions about competition, we've been doing quite a bit of work around that at Natspec within the vocational curriculum, and it was something I thought I was a little nervous about, to be honest. How helpful is competitive activity for young people with learning disabilities? Well, it turns out it's very helpful indeed. It seems to be a real motivating factor. They're not nearly so afraid of failing as we think they are. Failure actually, in these terms, can be a really useful learning experience. Why didn't we come first? And then looking at what it was about their performance that made another group stronger than they were. So I think you've come up with lots of good ideas there. I look forward to seeing what happens in practice.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Very busy, I'm sure, but you will see on Twitter, I'm sure, a lot of examples. What I do, I try to get departments and work areas to send me their information so I can tweet it, because that way I can keep the scores. That also does reduce the workload a little bit of the people who are teaching at the time. So, I can kind of keep an eye on the involvement, really, and record that and make sure that it's not lost, make sure that it's appreciated and celebrated.
Excellent. Look forward to it. We're going to pick up really now on some of the things that Ian has been saying about their plans, because these are fundamental parts of Maths Week. The sharing element is key to all of this. So please, if you do get involved, then share what you're up to. Our main social media platform for Maths Week is Twitter, but feel free to use whatever channels you normally use, and perhaps link up to Twitter so that we can retweet through that and we're aware of what you're doing. We'll be busy tweeting and retweeting, but please do retweet others. Students particularly are delighted when their tweets get a bit of traction, or tweets that are featuring what they've done. So please be on the lookout using the hashtag MathsCreative. We'd love you to post information pictures of your own. If anybody wants to submit a short blog or vlog, whether that's staff or learners or both, then we'll very happily put that up on the Natspec website, either in the lead up to Maths Week or during it. Let us know, and we'll be happy to use our website to share that. As Ian's talked about, bringing people together within college, using Maths Week as a sort of catalyst for doing that. Please think about how you might bring colleagues from across departments together to work with one another, and also whether there are local providers, colleges that you might be able to, put your heads together, perhaps do a little inter-college competition, if that's something that you think would benefit your learners. And hold your own in-house Maths Week events with the Maths Creative theme. Our logo here is downloadable from the Natspec website. There's a link to that at the end, so please feel free to use that in promoting what you're doing. So the learner competition this year, a very simple and open-ended kind of brief. We're asking learners to send us a showcase of the math skills that they've used when they were being creative, in whatever context that might be, whatever math skills they've been developing, and at whatever level. In terms of how you do that, just a reminder that any learner can enter, age 16 plus, with a learning difficulty or disability. It can be a self-declared learning difficulty. They may have an EHC plan or anywhere in between. We're simply asking them to create a showcase of the math skills that they've developed. That might take the form of a video. If it does, please keep it to a maximum of 3 minutes. That's not just for the benefit of the judges who will be viewing them all, but also what's possible to upload to our website. It might be annotated photographs, a reflective log, it could be a series of witness statements. You're absolutely free to use your imagination with that. I don't know if you've thought about that yet, Ian, about what sort of showcase you might be creating with different students.
I think it's very much down to the individual entrants, the staff and the students. I think if we provide them with the possibilities and say this is what you can do, then they tend to choose their own format. Obviously some of our learners have anxiety issues, so they may not want to be on a video, so they would rather send some annotated photographs. I think we've sent examples of both in the past. Videos are a great idea. I totally agree with the keep it short, because again, like you say, you've got the judges having to look at it, you've also got upload, but there's also the creation of video. It takes more work to render videos. So I think, keep it snappy, keep it interesting. I know that we've got, a strong sort of video creation sort of element in our college in the creative and performing arts area. So I'm pretty sure that they will be they'll be getting involved in some way in showcasing something visually, a real motion sort of video. But I think yeah, it's some people I think are afraid that if they just send an annotated photograph or two, that it's not enough. And I remind them always that it's showing what you're doing and justifying, that the person knows why they're doing it and that it's benefiting them in some way. That's what's important. It doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing, but we do, we love the videos too.
That's a great point, actually. We're not judging the quality of the video. We're looking at the math skills. I'm going to come on and I think it's the next slide of what we're looking for. So you upload the showcase at whatever format you've chosen to do it in by the Natspec website, and that's the link there and out in full at the bottom of the slide. And we're asking for everything to be submitted by the end of the week following Maths Week. So you've got a bit of time to collate what you've done and gather it together. We do need things in by that date because it's quite a tight judging schedule, shortlisting and judging schedule then to enable us to announce the winners at the Natspec conference right at the beginning of April. So just as Ian said there, we're not looking for highly polished showcases. We're looking for showcases which show something, and that's these 4 main points really. We're looking for a strong element of learner involvement. Remember, it's not a best teacher award, not a best video award or award for the best resource used. It's the focus is on how engaged the learners are. And we should be able to see from whatever you submit that the learners are developing and or using math skills in whatever creative practice they're doing. We want to see math skills that are useful to the learners. so the sort that they'll be able to apply in other situations to help them navigate their everyday lives more successfully, rather than something that's on the functional skills curriculum or is part of a qualification. We want to see the relevance to the young people or to the learners. And where learners are capable of doing this, and it isn't going to be the case for all learners, but we want to hear from them about the math skills they're demonstrating and why these are useful to them. This was some of the most powerful evidence from last year's entries, including the young man who explained how being able to tell the time and calculate when he had to be back from his break meant that he was never in trouble for lateness at work, and that was really important to him. Above all, we want to see that the learners are enjoying the experience. We know we all learn better when we're having a good time. Once again, I probably should have said this earlier, we're being supported by the numeracy charity National Numeracy. We're really grateful that they get to pick the final winner. We do the shortlisting, and we'll probably come up with between 3 and 6 possible winners, but we leave the final decision to them, and I'm very happy to be able to do so, because it's often a very difficult job differentiating between entries from learners doing very different things, working at completely different levels, using completely different math skills, and National Numeracy do the difficult job of differentiating between those. So a quick run through of some of the questions we've been asked in previous years. Is it okay to submit multiple entries? Can we submit an entry from a single learner? Can we submit a form of evidence that you haven't mentioned on the website? Can we enter learners who only have emerging numeracy skills? Well, the answer to all of these questions is yes. The rules really aren't very strict in our Maths Week competitions. It's not about what you can't do or what you have to do, but really what you can do and what you want to do within reason, so long as you are putting forward the type of evidence that shows those areas that we've just covered. So don't feel that you have to contact us to get permission to do various things. If it's the right thing for your learners and it's broadly in line with the principles that we've outlined here, absolutely go for it. So the winner is announced at the Natspec conference. That's on Tuesday, the 2nd of April this year. There are prizes for the winners and certificates for winners and runners-up. As you've seen from Ian, it can have quite an impact when students receive those. So finally, really, get thinking about what you might do, get creative, above all, get involved, and good luck. We haven't had any questions as we've gone along, but if anybody does want to raise anything now, please do feel free to do so. Or if you think of something afterwards that you wish you'd asked, then equally do get in touch with us. Perhaps use the info@natspec.org.uk address, put Maths Week in the title of your email, and we'll get back to you with an answer. But as I said before, generally, if it's about checking whether you can or can't do something, just go ahead and do it. And you'll find pretty much all of the information is there on our website. We will be sending around a copy of these slides, so you'll have the links there and also be able to refer back to this. We've also recorded the webinar, and in the next few days, we'll put up a recording on our website. So if, like Ian, you want to watch it collectively with a team, you'll be able to do that. But it just remains for me to thank Ian very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for getting involved, for sharing your experiences from last year and your plans for this year, and your enthusiasm for Maths Week.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, don't be afraid of trying, with your students. If you think that something is this legit, is this the right thing to do, just do it, and speak to functional skills staff in your college and liaise with them. And I look forward to seeing all the tweets and competition entries.
Okay, on that note then, we'll close the webinar. Good luck. Please do get involved. Please do have fun when you're doing it, and get as many learners as you can engaged on Maths Week. We look forward to seeing what you get up to. Thanks very much then. Bye-bye.
Bye.